Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Warnie, coach of the Warn Dogs, and this is Drew Jones.
Coach of the Mountain Goats, and we're on location, Warnie.
It is exciting times down at, is it Moorabbin still?
Yeah, we'll call it Moorabbin, spiritual name.
Down there at the Saints training, which is very important because two of our most traded-in players this week will be out on that deck there having a run around in Nasiah Wanganeen Miller, who is just an absolute lock, and then Rowan Marshall, who we'll talk to a little bit later about what we're doing there and how he's looking because, Drew, you've got the goat eyes on.
Yeah, and hey, don't forget Callum Wilkie. Probably one of the value buys of the week.
100%.
Yeah, and I can see Callum out there, the skipper, having a kick at the moment. But yeah, the players have just literally walked out. I don't think I could have timed this any better in terms of getting out here to Moorabbin, which is a bit of a drive. But yeah, let's get cracking into last night in the games, and then we'll come back to Rowan later.
Yeah, let's get there. Last night we saw Bailey Smith come back for a lot of teams, and he top scored with 126, so 31 disposals. Roy was sending dirty text messages to us last night saying about, they count every tackle for him. He did have 9 tackles, which is nice, so good on you, Baslenka. But he's dropping about 17K. So for the coaches that traded or the ones that are still looking to get him back in, he's still going to be over that $1.1 million mark, and he's a must-have, isn't he? He's just the complete package for us in fantasy.
Well, he was always likely to do this, wasn't he? He had a couple of weeks off to refresh. I'm not sure there was ever really an illness. It might have just been that Bailey's got in his contract and he gets a 2-week break at some stage during the year. But it wasn't a surprise to see him have a big game, was it? And the Lions dominated on the scoreboard, but yeah, Baz was still excellent. And it'd be fair to say, Warnie, that your two stupid mates who you do the podcast with have been taking the piss out of your ranking. But you've been holding Baz. So you get the double shot this week of having Baz already in your side and Nasiah coming in. So I'm thinking this could be a good week for you.
Well, if you look at the projected scores, which you can't take too much faith in, I've got them covered by, triple figures in this week. So fingers crossed I can keep that. That'd be nice to do because it was off to a good start because Baslenka was one of my dogs and also Zach Bailey, who I thought was on for an even bigger one because he was dominating, had 54 in the first quarter. Went off at the end though with, sat at the end and they just called it hamstring tightness. Have you heard any more on that or do you reckon it was just game was in the bag? Let's just sit him.
Well, we see now how good they are at picking these things up before it's an actual hamstring injury. I reckon it's been one of the biggest changes in footy over probably my time covering it is you don't get too many real bad hamstrings now because they seem to be so good at getting ahead of this.
Yep.
I reckon tune into AFL tonight later. I think we'll be able to have an update by then, but it's still pretty early days. But I think he'll be fine. Just precautionary, but geez, didn't he look good early? Like he's just a gun.
He is.
He's just an absolute jet.
The zeros on his contract are definitely there, and this is going to be the talking point of the off season, I guess, unless he does sign beforehand, which could be every chance as well. So, Zach Bailey is going to be. He is a gun. And that's all we need to know. As is Will Ashcroft, who top scored for the Lions with a 120. That's 3 big ones in a row for him. So he's not the value that he might have been before, but I still think he's a top 8 midfielder, so worth jumping at. Josh Dunkley had 14 tackles for his 115, and the other one we were sort of watching a fair bit, or there's a lot of owners of him, Max Holmes, 105. He went off before half-time with a bit of a shoulder issue, but came back out and can't have been too much wrong with him because he did have a 61-point second half, but he'd be a target that if you don't have him that you'd be looking at ASAP because the Cats do have a nice little run from here on.
Their run home is extraordinary. I think Holmes is probably as close to a must-have in the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks of the season as you'll find, as is Baz. Particularly, I think their last 3 games, they're looking at 3 pretty massive wins. So that's one to keep an eye on. But he hasn't. Holmes hasn't put us away for the non-owners, has he? Like he hasn't dropped to 160 or anything. It's just been consistent 105, 110.
Well, you're still getting him under $1 million, so that sort of almost feels like value for someone that you're calling a top six in any line. So that's it. But that was the game that was. Let's get into the weekend. So we're back to our 9 games. So that was the first of them. So we've got 8 games to talk about. So let's pump into tonight, and we do have a double header as we do with some of these Friday nights. Although the definition of a double header would be that you could watch them both, wouldn't it? You need your 2 screens, I reckon, for this one. So it is Sydney and Western Bulldogs to kick us off, and that's a 7:40 start at the SCG. So 6 changes for the Swans with Corey Warner, Rampy, Harry Kyle, Tom Hanley, Matt Roberts is back in, as well as Hayden McLean. McLean comes in. He's needed because there's some tools out there with Logan McDonald, Peter Laddams and Joel Marty all injured. So Laddams, interesting one there for the coaches with Brodie Grundy, and that should hopefully be a positive thing for him. Riley Bice has been omitted, as has Roses, and Sam Wicks is also injured there. The Dogs, Cody Waitman comes in for Riley West, who has been omitted. And there was a talk this week, and this is probably that thing about the Brodie Grundy. Tim English, have you heard any more since there was a little flag on his back?
Well, he's good to go.
Yep.
He's in Sydney, so, yeah, as far as we all know, he's playing. But, yeah, that might be one for me to check on today, and I can just put something up on Goat Fantasy a bit later. But we don't cheer injuries.
No.
On Goat Fantasy or on DT Talk, but seeing Laddams go out of the side, we hope that Laddams is feeling great, that this is a good result for the Grundy holders and the Grundy owners.
Yep, so Laddams been named up as a groin, so hopefully just a little one there for him, but in saying that, a little one groin. Talking about my groin, I reckon. Anyway, so,
Big Pistol Pete. I'm sure he's packing some heat.
He would be, I reckon. Big man. So in this game, I guess, we're all just probably another week of watching Goulden, see what he's doing. I did see that he's playing 51% forward is what he's cracking at the moment. So maybe that could be something to watch a little bit there. He won't get forward status, though.
Okay. Maybe next year.
Yeah, so it could be a nice start. So maybe it might be one where you have a look at your keeper league and see if you can sneak something out with your mates, because it'd be worth paying a little bit overs for an error with forward status if you did have that opportunity. So that could be something to play with. And we'll just see how this rolls out. Isaac Heaney, pick him if you want to, but it's almost like this week, if you are going to the big dog, I'm sure it was either Baz last night or you are looking at Nasiah going into this weekend if you are going big with a upgrade. Let's move to the other Friday night game, and that is the Eagles up against the Crows over at Optus Stadium. Jack Williams, Tim Kelly and Oliver Franco, 230k midfielder, mid-season draftee, absolutely dominating. I think it was 123 last week out in the Waffle, but he was going at 117 in the Sandful before being picked up. So he is in. You've got Cooper Duff-Tytler out injured, and Hewitt and Marek have been omitted. Isaac Cummings been omitted, and Toby Murray comes back in. So as an Eagles fan, you'd be happy with these players that are sort of coming in as these rookies, because we've been seeing enough from, all the guys that have been playing through. Obviously, Herbert has been a popular rookie to be grabbing in the last week or two. But then Franco, is he probably the one, if you're looking to just go basement, 230k midfielder, he'd be the one named Slam Bam in the middle. Yeah,
so I think Franco's come in and made a real impact straight away. If you listen to what Andrew McQualter said about him, he was really glowing in terms of great feedback on the type of teammate that he is, popular already in the wider playing group. So he might be sort of the guy that fills the Dev Robertson role, which the Eagles haven't really been able to do since he did his ACL. And West Coast haven't been as good a team without Dev. He was excellent to start the year, as we know, as owners in fantasy. So I think he gets a good crack here to sort of fill a spot. He's sort of hard-nosed. He'll lay a few tackles, but he's also got a bit of speed and can do some outside stuff. So he'll get a crack. Of course, son of Josh Franco, who can't remember if he was a great fantasy midfielder. I reckon he used to rack up a fair few touches for Port back in the day. But yeah, I was sort of interested to ask your opinion on this, on Herbert v Franco. Like if you're looking for that downgrade this week, is, we've seen Herbert for a couple of weeks. We know, it seems like his role's pretty secure. Do you go in the safety of that and the safety of the real mature age body, or do you launch on the cheaper guy?
Yeah, see, at this time of year, I often like to go the cheaper guy because of the cash that you can be hopefully spending elsewhere. Herbert is the safety of the guy that we've seen what he's been able to do and probably more secure in the side. It may depend on who your other bench dude is, because you're not playing either of these guys on your field, or not really by choice anyway at the moment. So, that's where my thinking would go for that. Just go the cheaper guy, squeeze that cash, but it's not like you've got a second prize or anything like in this one. He is mature age, so he's when we say mature age, 19-year-old, he's been in the system playing plenty of senior football at state level, so that's a positive, and I think, by the sounds of it, he's done everything he could early on to make his mark. So, I'd just be going there. That's probably my little thing. In saying that, though, if you've been watching any of those Eagles games and just seeing what they're doing and how they're playing, and Herbert, he stands out a bit because of the big black headband that he's got going on, but it feels like he is everywhere.
He's got the moustache, he's got the thick black headband, and he's got the big arms. He's been pumping weights in the VFL gym for the last 6 years at Geelong, no doubt. He's been super impressive. Just the confidence that he's come in with, and I think McQualter said, this guy's had 6 years of senior VFL experience under his belt. That's why he's been able to come in and do what he's doing right now. I think if you're tossing a coin at this stage, I think you go the cheaper guy, but I think you can't go wrong with either, to be honest. No,
that's right. All right, let's move to Saturday, and we've got a couple of games earlier in the afternoon, 1:15 at Utah Stadium, Hawthorn and Melbourne. So they've got 4 changes there. They're bringing in 2 debutants, Matt Hill and Noel Miraz. Both of those guys are 230k defenders. We're not going to be touching them with anything that we're doing with our sides, unless you were looking at a D8 just to throw away and get a basement that you want to playing, but they're not going to score enough for you anyway. A red dot may even be a better option for you. Will McCabe's also in with Jack Gunston, who's been out for a little while. Their outs include Kaushadir, who's been omitted. Nick Watson has that little hammy, awareness, tightness, whatever you want to call that. Carl Amon and Ned Reeves are also out there. So Reeves is a bit of a knee, and it sounds like it's going to be a little more than 1 week, according to Sam Mitchell on SEN this morning. So that's probably a little flag for their upcoming opponents, because they've been rolling that dual ruck setup over the time. So for Max, it might be a positive outcome for him that he is only up against one. And Carl Amon was a bit of a knee as well, but it sounds like that's a 1 weeker. For Melbourne, CJ is in with Latrell Pickett, Bailey Laurie and Harrison Petty. They're out, all omitted. So that's McDonald, Cross, Melksham and Kentfield. Whew, bit going on. There's actually a lot of changes this weekend in general.
Yeah, that's a big game in terms of changes, especially with Hawthorn. I don't think they were expecting to lose Amon. I think his knee must have played up at training, because we were out there yesterday. It was windy as hell at Dingley and raining and about 10 degrees. And, his knee was heavily strapped. Obviously, as an owner, I always keep an eye on him. So he hurt that knee a couple of weeks ago. So I guess they were just thinking, hopefully he can play through it. Obviously, it's got to a point where it's a bit too sore. But, the fact that they didn't name up Miraz as a debutant suggests to me that was a late-ish decision.
Yep.
And obviously, interesting they've gone him over Bodie Ryan, who's had a few games under his belt. They had to make a couple of calls there. The Hawks, it sort of says to me that Max Gawn is going to have a pretty big day. How do you think the conditions at the ground affect Max on the day?
Yeah, so we've been keeping a close eye on it with our little office perching above the normally beautiful York Park deck there, but it's in the worst condition we've seen it. Like, there's actually mud on the ground, there's water laying on the ground, they've got the tarps out at the moment there. It's just crazy. We haven't really seen that before, with water just laying on. We've had a fair bit of rain this week. It's a beautiful sunny day now, and it doesn't look like we've got any rain coming across the weekend either, so hopefully that's all a positive thing. But with all the works that are going on there, it's just not in the best nick that we've seen UTAS Stadium before. So what that could mean is it that slippery, wet tackle sort of day, therefore stoppage for Max. But yeah, it's the conditions, as in the day, should be a pretty nice day. It's not going to be that sometimes windy stuff that we do see at York Park. So might just be sort of that normal day for Max, I would say.
With the tarps down to stop some of the water getting into the surface?
Well, that's what we're unsure of, because the drainage is usually quite good there. We've seen heaps of rain before, and it just it never lays on the ground. But I'm not sure if there's some sort of science behind what they're trying to do there.
It doesn't sound that scientific.
No, it's just a weird thing. But they've replaced turf. Like that's been a very rare thing at UTAS Stadium, where the goal squares have been completely replaced with the fresh turf down, and that's never really happened in our time. We've sort of been there a good 5 years or so, having our little office there, and just knowing it over the course of the last 20 years. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. So it'll be look forward to seeing what happens on Saturday with that. But fingers crossed we'll be all right. They've had a fair bit of traffic on there too, which has surprised me. With how careful they are with the ground at times. Only a week ago they had 2 VFL games, a VFL and VFLW game, and then the day after backed up with 4 games for North Launceston, the team that's out of there. So, yeah, we don't see that too often.
6 games last weekend.
Yeah, the weekend before, yeah. So, yeah, and then Dane Swan was out there last weekend, actually, for a North Lonnie game. He played down there, so racked up 30-plus, as he does, and but he wouldn't have liked the cold, wet, and all of that. It would have been all about the beer afterwards, I reckon.
The beers, yeah, for sure.
Anything else in this game to look at? I guess... in my opinion, people, if you still got Jack Steele, it could be an okay game for him with those conditions. But, yeah, if you were holding him or you had to hold him, there's still no reason that you wouldn't trade him either if he could be your access to the player that you needed to. So, yeah, maybe Joel Fitzgerald could have a few tackles as well.
I don't doubt that.
Let's move to Canberra, and we've got GWS and Freo, and so that's a 1:35 game. So there is overlap. It's 20 minutes later starting there. They've got 4 changes there at the Giants with Delana, Harry Rouston in, and then a couple of debutants with Riley Hamilton. He's a mid-forward. He's 230K. Not massive numbers, 63 average in the VFL, which he's a small forward, essentially. So that's what you got there. And also Jack O, he is in as well, as much as we have probably joked about his name. That is how we're pronouncing it. So we look at him as a 230K, but he racks. So he's averaging 119 in the VFL this year, so pretty big numbers. Their outs include Lek Alir being managed, as is Phoenix Gothard, Max Krzyzewski with that awful knee that he had last week, and then Brent Daniels, who has been a popular pick in the last couple of weeks. I think it was 18,000 coaches in the last 2 weeks had brought him into Classic, so he needs to go out with his calf injury, because that looks like a decent enough little medium-term one, I would say. No changes for the Dockers, which means that Darcy is in there rucking with Luke Jackson again.
Yeah, you think... unfortunately for Jackson owners, he's probably not going to reach the peak of his scoring over this next little period while Darcy's in the team. But you can understand from a Freo perspective, like they don't want to destroy him in the ruck over the last 8 weeks of the year when they've got bigger fish to fry later in the season. Or they are going for, they could break the record, the modern AFL record for games in a row if they keep rolling. So interesting. So GWS, 2 debutants. Geez, they've gone pretty deep into their list. I know Jack O's numbers in the VFL have just been exceptional. Yeah. I'm really interested to see him play, because I've often wondered what's been the reason why they haven't used him, because it feels like they've been a midfielder short almost all year. With Green and Kelly out, they've used Green they've used Toby Green as a mid, they've used Lockie Ash as a mid. That Brett Daniels played in there, so he finally gets an opportunity, and let's see how he goes. But between him and Franco, there's a couple of pretty reasonable basement price guys in there. Yeah,
it could be the guys that we can just go down to squeeze that cash out to make some stuff. But we keep getting these forced trades like a Brent Daniels, and then you need to have some cash to put on top of them as well, which is the other part of what we want to do with some of those moves.
Well, would you like the forced trade update for the Mountain Goats?
Oh, yeah. What have you got now? What are we adding to? Obviously, Brent.
So with Amon and Brent this week, I've got now the full 18. You can field a side.
Right. I want to see the graphic of that. That'd be nice to see. Would it be a good side? Would it actually, on average, would they do pretty well?
Well, think about some of the names in there. You've got Grundy in the ruck. You've got Bailey Smith. You've got Goulden. You've got Nasiah when he was out with his calf.
Rozee, Petrarca.
Yeah, Rozee off half-back, Petrarca in the forward line. It's an unbelievable team. It's like Dev Robb can do the tagging job. So there's a bit to go around. I'll do the 18 up. It'll be a winner.
Just probably one player here worth going. Would you be happy to buy into Andrew Brayshaw if you're looking at someone around that price?
Yeah, I think he's shown enough over the last month to think that he's trustworthy again.
Yeah.
And it seems like they've freed him up a little bit. Yeah, it just looks like he's moving really well. He's in good nick. He's in good form. And they're sort of seems like they're really easing Sarong sort of back into his work, aren't they? So, yes, the Freo midfield, like even guys like who's that? Their sort of young fella. I forget his name. He was a first round pick a few years ago. The name just escapes me. He's been getting some midfield minutes and playing pretty well. They've spread the load a little bit, but it hasn't affected the scoring. Brayshaw's been good. So I think I'd be happy to buy into him at his sort of budget premium price.
Yeah, yep. Let's move up to the Gold Coast People First Stadium, 4:15 game. They've got another debutant. They just keep coming. That's Dylan Patterson. So he was an academy kid. He's a defender. Worth a little bit too much, essentially, at $334K because I think he can be going other options. I think Gota would be the one for me if I was shopping for a defender who's a bit cheaper there as well. Ethan Reid also comes in. They've omitted Jared Witts and Charlie Ballard has been omitted as well. The Pies bring in Maynard and Liam Puncher, another debutant, so that's what he's going to do because he's a key position defender, so he will be punching and not probably scoring heaps of points. He's averaging about 49 in the VFL. So 22-year-old though, was former Swans Academy actually, he was, so has probably been knocking on the door of the system for a bit there. Isaac Quain is out injured and Rowan still. So that one there with Jared Witts being out, so that means Moyle will be going up against Darcy Cameron. And Darcy Cameron's a member of the Warn Dogs. Maybe this gets him a bit of a reprieve this week.
Oh, there's no doubt. I think this helps him a lot. And I don't know if it would be enough to save him if you were thinking that you wanted to, say, bring like Rowan Marshall in for him. I don't think that's enough to save him, but I think if your hands are tied and you have to hang on to Cameron, I think you can feel a little more comfortable this week for sure. Yeah,
that's a positive there. Are we going to see... Well, actually, there's probably a few questions here. One of those is we've got John Noble named off half-back, but he spent a lot of time on the wing last week, and for some coaches, such as Destroy, he's pretty keen to move on because he might be his access to getting Nasiah this week. So, yeah, that's going to be a watch, and I don't know if we've got any answers of what he's going to do, but at least he's named on the half-back.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, I think there's been a real uptick for Joel Jeffrey over the last couple of weeks. It's almost as if, like, they're worried Joel Jeffrey's head's been turned by a few clubs that are interested in trading for him. So they're like, oh, you can have a bit more ball now, mate. I used to be a real staunch hold your premiums guy, but, like, Noble's done it for 8 weeks and now he's gone back to being junk. You know, I think if you can get to Nasiah, and if that's your pathway there, I think you probably go the more trusted guy.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna feel pretty terrible at the end of the round if Noble pumps out a 60 and Nasiah goes 140.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the thing, it's those make you sleep better at night type things, and as much as it goes against upgrade the rookie and you might only get there or whatever, but just knocking these guys, and I think this has been the season for it too. You just want the guys right at the top. It's almost old school thinking, the guns and rookies thing. You just need to get to the top because they're the ones that keep performing. Hopefully we see, we don't see Christian Petrarca named in the forward pocket and doing that, but that's been an awful watch and very hard. Last week was an absolute shocker. Are you a Petrarca owner?
Yeah, so I don't feel the pain as aggressively as you guys because I brought him back, if you remember, right after his injury.
So you got something.
The first week that he was named, I brought him back. So I've been, he hasn't been great at all since he's been back. But he was better in those early weeks, and sort of now I'm just used to his mediocrity. It's not a shock when I see it. I mean, that's interesting.
And
isn't it? Like,
standards are a little bit lower at the Mountain Goats, just quietly too.
They are. But that week that I brought in Petrarca and Cozzy, I thought I was getting a jump on everyone, bringing in two of the best forwards in the comp. Because I was like, well, these are the guys we have to have. They're going to be scoring way above everyone else. And it just shows you I would have been better off just investing in the trustworthy half-backs and the gun mids rather than thinking, oh, well, these are guys I'm going to have all year. I may as well just get them in while I have the chance.
In saying that, we could have all been picking up Jordan De Goey at a basement price, bargain price, not that long ago, and he has been one of the best forwards going around, which we'll see in this game too. All right, let's move into Saturday night footy, and that is Richmond and Carlton. Kane McAuliffe, Hugo Routhsmith, and Tom Lynch is back after his throat thing, his larynx thing going on. Dion Prestia injured, something different there for him. Poor fella. Geez, imagine the games that he could have actually had next to his name in his career with what he's had.
It would have broken Boom's record.
Yeah. Maurice Rioli out with a personal reason. And Sam Grill has been managed. If you still got him, there's your ticket to get him upgraded. Ollie Hollins comes in for the Blues, and Blake Acres has been omitted. All right, not sure what we're really going to get out of this game to be thinking about.
No, nothing.
Tim Taranto, there you go. He can have a good game.
Taranto and Banks.
So I guess Banks is the talking point, though. Are we just seeing that as a blip? If you invested in him last week, it wasn't a huge investment, obviously, but do you back it or do you just jump off if he's your ticket to Nasiah or whatever you do? Like, how do you feel about that?
No, I mean, I think my view is you got to take pride out of it. If you can move him as part of a deal to get yourself
a premium,
Naz into your team, then I think you just do it. And probably just a lesson for us, isn't it? Like last week, I could have gone to Herbert.
Oh yeah.
Instead of Banks and played Herbert on field, got more points and saved $300K, and then I would have had that money.
Guns and rookies.
Yeah, and then I would have had that money this week, which would have softened the blow of the Amon and Daniels injury. I could have done something a bit more creative and upgraded a bit more strongly. So I think that just shows you, like those when there's a risk that they'll score like a rookie but priced, a lot more expensively, you just err on the side of the tried and trusted route, I suppose.
Pride is a shocking thing in this game because you do want to back your decision making, but sometimes you just have to put the tail between your worn dog legs and say, yep, let's go, and just play it out through. Anyway, let's move to Sunday. Obviously, extended benches for these games. Check those out at 5 p.m. Bombers have omitted Hussein El Achkar. We've also got in Saad El Hawley, Max Condi, the Condog, Nick Cox, and also Peter Wright coming into the squad. So the Saints have lost, and because they've had their bye, it was Jack Sinclair, and that's been now named up for the rest of the season, that calf. And Tom De Koning, 3 to 4 weeks is what it's sounding like he is out for. Their into the squad is Travalia, Filippo, O'Connell, Henry, and Dodson. And let's tick these guys off here. Let's start with Rowan Marshall, who is the talk of the week as the ruck should be holding down the number one spot. Everyone sort of reeled off all the numbers, but we've seen him basically go back-to-back seasons, averaging 117. I think it was about 115 the back half of last year. It's just obvious. Is it about 3 to 4 weeks, or did you get any extra intel this morning?
Yeah, so Ross just said yesterday that TDK thinks he'll only miss 2 weeks. But then the medical staff says 3 to 4.
Yep.
I think we should have a decent run at Roma. Like, they're not going to risk their $1.7 million asset.
Exactly. Yeah.
Come back early. I've just got eyes on Rowan Marshall at the moment. And this is why we came out. We wanted to have a look at how the shoulder was going to function. So he's got the non-contact fluoro hat.
Right.
And the players have just gone into little groups around the ground, and Marshall is just with it looks like a strength and conditioning or a rehab staff member. So he's currently on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go. He's just banging shoulders, like doing a little contact drill. So we might literally be watching the shoulder fitness test right now. So, so he's giving it a crack now. You know that drill, they sort of put their arms around each other and just bang their shoulders into each other. I mean,
so
hard to tell from this distance away, but he looks fine.
It's
an
interesting one in this game too, because it is the Bombers up against the Saints, and if there was a late out or something like that, or however that's going to look, you've seriously got an option there in Sam Durham, because we've sort of talked about that all week as well. Which one do you pick out of the two? So you could easily pivot across if it was for that forward. Obviously, if you get in the ruck, it's a different story. But if it is in the forward line there and doing that, you could have that little pivot if you needed to. I think that's probably achievable with what you might need to do in that game, and being the second last game of the round, you got a bit of time to do.
That's good to have in your back pocket.
Yeah,
if Marshall's laid out, you just go straight to Durham.
Dodson, is that an issue if he did come in? Because he has been named in the squad here.
Interesting, isn't it? It's probably like a Max Heath situation where he plays the low time on ground. Because yesterday, Ross sort of was talking about how Marshall, he's done this before. He's done the heavy workloads, and that's what it's likely to be again for him. So this is what Marshall wants. He wants to be the guy. And
whether that's at St Kilda or whatever his future looks like. And for all parties, the club, him, etc., this is what they want to be able to put his wares out there.
Dodson is young and untried. Yeah. I don't expect that he's going to have a massive impact on Marshall scoring.
So if you were having that choice, though, are you just Marshall over Durham, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, I just love both. I think they're both awesome options. And Durham, I guess you have the volatility potentially of the Bombers throwing around their midfield mix, and that would be the only question mark I guess I would have there. But his form has just been so good in recent times. It's hard to see Solomon changing at least his role.
He looked like Dustin Martin last week, the way he was busting out of the middle and pushing forward.
He's like a beast. He really is.
No, he was awesome. And then the other players, Naz, there's just no real flags there, especially for this week. There might be those tags that could come in the other time, but it's just, he's probably been the player that we've looked at for the last 2 or 3 weeks of going, we are getting him now.
Yeah, I think it all matches up nicely with what looks like a soft match up against the Bombers, who don't really appear to have anyone who'd go with him. Maybe Andy McGrath could have a crack. He has done a couple of run with earlier in the season, but that was under a different coach, wasn't it? So there's unknowns there. I think best case scenario is that he spends a bit of time off half back, and hopefully the view from Essendon is that he's not hurting them too much, and he can get that cheap ball.
They might get their bevo on and just think, that doesn't matter. Yeah, and a few coaches have done that. They've felt that back half Naz, while he looks dominant, perhaps he isn't having the score involvements, and having those really big impact moments. But if he starts dominating through the midfield, then that means that Solomon really has to action that. But I mean, honestly, like when you look at the fixture coming up, it's hard not to feel a little concerned that Naz might have a couple of tag games. Like surely Mullen goes to him in that Geelong game. We've got a fortnight for him. North Melbourne, who haven't been scared to do any tagging. Can James Jordan the week after? Like, it's almost a month, even if you wanted to say Port Adelaide, if Willem Drew was to do something there. Like, it's a 4-week block of, they want to use their taggers as well, and they've shown that they have.
Yeah, I mean, like, is there a world where Wilkie, at his price, in a role where he's likely to have a pretty consistent run of scoring without Jack Sinclair? Like, is it better value for money with less risk?
Well, you're calling it about 15 to 20 points cheaper, like per game. Do you think that he can fall within that? Naz has obviously got that ceiling, which it's hard to say that Wilkie doesn't, because we have seen some big mark games that has helped him get right up there. But yeah, he's a safe play for a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd find it very hard not to get Nasir if I had the opportunity. That's probably the thing.
Yeah. I think the thing about Wilkie is the only way he's a comparable or better pick is if Naz has like a 60 game.
Yeah.
And Wilkie just churns out your 400s in a row, and Naz might have the lower one in there. It's hard to argue that Naz is the right pick right now because of what he could potentially do this week, and sometimes it is hard to look past that.
Yeah, Wilkie's so cheap too. Like at $8.67, he's not a terrible second prize if you couldn't get to Naz, and then he's not necessarily getting too far away. He's got a break even of 79, so we'll see what he might be able to do, and he's probably not going to cop the attention as such there in that role with what he does, because a lot of those intercepts you can't sort of defend that because that's not what that's about. So that's what he's doing.
Marshall's done his contact fitness test, and he's just joining in with a drill now. So hopefully
we'll give
he's all good to go.
A tick for now. Excellent. All right. And finishing off the round, we have Port Adelaide and North Melbourne. So we may see Alex Van Wyck debut. Jack Watkins and Miles Bergman are back into the squad. So Bergman been out a while with that toe. Callum Coleman-Jones has been omitted for the Roos. So Big X is back after that concussion that he sustained at training. Luke McDonald... no, hang on. No, that was... What happened to X? That was the jaw, wasn't it? Sorry. That was a couple of weeks ago. The concussion stuff that Finn O'Sullivan had. Running into X. That was what that was. Griffin Logue and Zach Banch are the others into the squad. So, X is back in. If you've got him, hopefully he can be okay against Sweet. But they did go with the two-headed ruck monster there with Dante and Sweetie together. So we'll see how that rolls out. But this is another game where there's probably not a lot to think about. We've all got Butters, we've all got Shees, and just hopefully they can rack up. Horn France has been in great form. I just struggle to buy into him at over 900k now, but he's been as good as anyone.
The Horn has been great. I wonder if Foss has a decent crack at Butters this week. Like, it feels like a great opportunity.
Yeah,
like for Clarko to say, you're our future. Go like head to head with Butters, put an arm over him, and follow him around, and he can learn a bit. And I think O'Sullivan's shown that he can absolutely match it aerobically with some of the best mids in the comp. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that match up. But there's not a lot to get excited about. Supercoach players who have Sherry will be ecstatic that he only misses the 1 week.
Yep.
And I guess we hope for you that Goda has another nice score off after that.
He can tick along and just make a few dollars and maybe come into play if he needs to at any time for the Dogs when we need him. All right, there we are, and good for Goda as well being back in, because it was a long layoff for him with injuries as well, and showed that he's there and up to the level and all of that. So we're down to our two trades. What are yours looking like for this week, Drew?
Yeah, so I've still got to make the call as to whether Amon does exit.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a bit of cash in the back pocket for next week. But for all the Wilkie talk, I still think Naz is the guy to go for this week. So I think likely Naz will be in, and probably Franco, and then I'll just make a decision on if it's Daniels and Amon, or if it's like a Josh Lindsay or Murdoch or one of the other rookies that I can cash out.
Yep. You got plenty of cash there that you can be doing some stuff with, and that's what we'll be doing. It would be nice to have our 3 trades this week, because I'm sure we could all use them to make some things work. But there we are. It is around 17 where buyers are behind us. We've got our run home, the last third of the season. All right, follow everything at Goat Fantasy News and stay with it all weekend. And fingers crossed, Rowan Marshall is going to be the man.
Yeah, I'll have all the latest this evening, but we'll see the final chance at 5, and I expect Big Bro will certainly be in it. Thanks.
Legend. Thanks, Drewy.
On you, mate.